I was left heartbroken at my daughter's birthday when $1 million angel appeared. I will never forget that day. The sky was a washed-out gray, the kind of color that chills your bones. My heart pounded in my chest, drowning out the giggles and laughter from the backyard. I was surrounded by balloons, cake, and swirling confetti, yet I felt so utterly alone. There she was, my little girl, beaming under the dim, muted light. 10 years old and so full of Lithia's sacred age, an age of innocence. I wanted to give her the world, just as every parent dreams. But in a second, everything tilted. The front door swung open. In walked a figure, tall and impossibly radiant. Her hair glimmered like spun gold, and her eyes sparkled like the rarest jewels. She floated, almost glided, across the threshold. A hush fell, the sound of children's laughter snuffed out. "Who is she?" someone whispered, and I clutched my stomach, feeling queasy. $1 million angel, indeed exquisite, unattainable. She wasn't dressed for our modest party. No silly party hats. Just an elegant gown that seemed to shimmer with each step she took. The sparkling fabric danced like sunlight on water, beckoning every eye in the room, including mine. I could hardly breathe. My heart raced. This was supposed to be Jane's day, our special celebration, and now it felt twisted, infected. I caught the puzzled faces of my friends, eyes darting, mouths slightly agape. What's happening? I could see them silently asking each other, while fear gripped me in its icy claws. The angel approached Jane, her delicate hands reaching out. It was like the world had come to a standstill. Tiny beads of sweat formed on my forehead. "Mom?" Jane's voice trembled as she turned to me, her joyful aura dimming under the weight of this stranger. "Who is she?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to protect my daughter from whatever magic this creature brought with her. My mind raced, searching for an explanation. But I had none. The angel crouched to meet Jane's gaze, a slow, intimate moment that sent prickles of dread down my spine. What did she want? Why here? The silence hung thick, palpable, as the party seemed to fade around us. My heart thundered, an echo of fear. My hands trembled as I wound them together, desperate for some sense of control. Then, as if sensing my turmoil, the angel turned to me, her smile radiant yet unsettling. "This is why you must believe," she said, her voice like a melody, both soothing and haunting. I could feel the eyes of everyone on me now, the awkward murmurs, hushed anxieties. My chest tightened further. I was losing grasp of the moment. A million questions stormed in my mind, battling for attention. Believe what? I wanted to shout. What do you mean? Who are you? But I remained silent, my throat dry, words choking in my mouth. My daughter looked bewildered, searching my face for reassurance. The cake sat ignored on the table, candles flickering in a forgotten flame. Then, just as quickly as she appeared, the angel's expression shifted. At that moment, I sensed something was very wrong. A quick look behind her, a flutter in her eyes. Was there someone else? I strained to see, to understand. But before I could put the pieces together, she stepped back, her presence dissolving like a mirage, and then it happened. The earth seemed to tremble beneath me. I felt a pull, a sense that perhaps everything around me was about to change forever. Was she a blessing, or a curse? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The atmosphere grew heavy after the angel vanished, leaving behind an unsettling stillness, as if the very air had been punctured. My heart raced, beating wildly against my ribcage, drowning out the murmurs that drifted in and out around me. Kids began to shuffle back to their activities, but that enchanting evening felt altered, thinly veiled. Jane stood frozen, her tiny fingers gripping a balloon, the vibrant colors now contrasting sharply with her wan face. "Mom?" Her voice cut through the tension, but it trembled, a fragile thing. Is she okay?" My throat felt like sandpaper as I attempted to swallow the weight of fear gnawing at my insides. I don't know, sweetheart." It was the only truth I could muster, feeling powerless. Maybe she was just lost? Jane's eyes were wide, shimmering with confusion and disappointment. The laughter of her friends was now a distant echo, swallowed by the storm roiling in my heart. I knelt beside her, aiming for comfort while struggling to provide it for myself. "What do you want to play next?" I asked, willing her to react, to shake off the intrusion, even as I doubted my own words, her lips pressed together in a tight line. "Can we go home?" Even a simple request felt like a brittle plea in the thick tension that lingered. I nodded, words escaping me. How could I let this moment define her childhood? With a gentle touch, I brushed a strand of hair from her face, trying to erase the confusion on her brow. "Let's pack things up, okay? We can open your gifts later." I forced a smile, but it felt less convincing as I was met with her vacant gaze. As we turned to gather our belongings, the familiar sound of laughter began to fade into the background until it arrived at a complete hush. One voice among them, sweet but firm, revealed a warmth in the fading light. "Hey, Jane." It was Sam, her best friend. Her voice rang like a bell, clear and true. "Want to play tag?" She bounced on her toes, oblivious to our turmoil, and for a brief moment, Jane's expression flickered with the ghost of joy. "Okay." Jane's eyes lit, her spirit may have dimmed temporarily, but it could still spark. With renewed energy, she dashed toward the other children, sacrificing adult worries for the innocence of play. Watching her run, I felt something in my heart shift. This was a moment worth holding on to. But then came the chill of the angel's intrusion swirling in the back of my mind, tugging at the corners of my unease. What if this was just the beginning of something I couldn't comprehend? I settled on the porch, watching the chaos of childhood return, a mantle of noise and laughter that seemed to veil my anxiety. Perhaps the noise of my friends' chatter could drown out the echoes of that haunting smile. I closed my eyes, letting the shadows of disbelief slip into something softer. Then, amidst the din, a soft voice broke through my cocoon of silence. A woman with tousled hair and kind eyes approached, hands tucked in the pockets of her faded jeans. "Hey there," she called gently, her approach unassuming. "Tough day, huh?" I nodded, surprised by her understanding gaze. "You could say that. I don't understand." Who was she? What does it all mean? "Sometimes things happen we can't explain," the woman replied, her voice steady and warm. "But every moment has its lessons, even if they're concealed in chaos." There was an encouraging shimmer in her eyes, like she recognized layers of pain and hope tangled in one. A small flicker of comfort bloomed inside me, but it was snuffing against the weight of my fears. I wanted to unpack this mystery, to know what her words meant, but the moment slipped away as Jane raced past, squealing with delight as she chased after her friends. And then, just as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting an orange hue over the shattered serenity, a child approached me quietly. Little Molly, the shy one from next door, stood twisting a piece of grass in her hands. Mrs. Baker? I have something for Jane." She handed me a delicate box wrapped in shiny paper, small and unassuming. "It's from my mom," she whispered, shyly. "She said it's from all of us. Just tell Jane it's a surprise." "Thank you, sweetheart." I smiled genuinely, momentarily distracted by her earnestness. I tucked the box into my bag, feeling a warmth inside that contrasted sharply with the unease clenching my heart. Perhaps in small moments like these, kindness could break through the darkness, but as I turned back, the unease returned with a vengeance. Standing by the edge of the street, the $1,000,000 angel appeared once more, looking out of place yet at home in the same breath. Her gaze was fixed on Jane as laughter erupted from the group of children, yet this time, with a slight frown on her face. Then my heart sank as I noticed a glimmering object fall from her grasp, rolling toward me. Instinct kicked in. I raced forward, my breath catching as it settled with a soft thud at my feet. A locket, small and delicate, shining in the twilight glow, grabbing it up with shaking fingers. I felt more than fear, I felt dark curiosity twisting my gut as I turned to the angel, searching her face, but she was gone. The street was empty. Only the whispers of laughter remained, a stark contrast to the knot tightening in my chest. What had this stranger left behind? I stared at the locket, torn between dread and intrigue. The night deepened, and the echo of her haunting words lingered in my mind. This is why you must believe. With Jane laughing in the distance, yet another piece of a puzzle I hadn't asked for was drawing me deeper into uncertainty, urging me to confront the twisted path ahead. I tightened my grip around the locket, feeling it pulse against my palm, and as I turned to join my daughter, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The quiet of the night wrapped itself around me, heavy and suffocating, an uncomfortable embrace. I followed the sweet laughter of Jane and her friends, but my heart raced with each step away from the locket, the unspoken promise trapped in its delicate frame. It hung between us like a taut string, vibrating with potential for both hope and fear. Mom. Come play. Jane's voice floated back to me, filled with that bubbling joy that could still be found in her innocence. The tension in my heart twisted at the sound, as if she were beckoning me from a chasm I was already teetering on the edge of. I plastered a smile on my face and jogged into the yard, the laughter swirling around me like a lifeline, tenuous yet inviting. As I joined in their games, my movements felt automatic, every giggle and every shriek momentarily dispelling the lingering heaviness. I cheered for Jane, clapping and laughing, diving headfirst into the distraction even while my mind wandered back to the locket nestled in my pocket. I could feel its weight, a burgeoning mystery threatening to overshadow this fleeting moment of joy. The game ended, and the air thickened again with the knowledge of what had transpired. Jane bounced over to me, her face flushed and her smile bright as she clutched a balloon string tightly in her small hand. Can we go home now? I want to see what Molly's surprise is. Her eagerness pulled at my heartstrings, tugging me further into the abyss of motherly love and protective instinct. Of course, let's get you settled, I replied, swallowing hard against the emotions that threatened to spill over. We made our way home, Jane's hands flapping about with giddy excitement, yet every hop in her step made me acutely aware of the darkness that loomed behind my heart. As we entered the house, I set the delicate box on the kitchen counter and motioned for Jane to sit at the table. Let's see what you got, sweetheart. I could hear my voice, warm and encouraging, but deep down it felt like a precarious masquee wasn't just curious about the gift. I was desperate for a momentary escape from the whirlwind inside of me. Her eyes widened as she carefully opened the box, revealing a bracelet made of colorful beads, each one shimmering with individuality, so unlike anything that had come before. Wow, Mom. Look! She exclaimed, her voice bubbling with childlike wonder. It's beautiful. Yes, it is, I responded, allowing myself the briefest moment to bask in her happiness. Yet the angel's frown and the locket's weight were constant reminders of my own unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that the two were inevitably entwined. After we disbanded the party chaos, Jane ran off to her room with the bracelet, chattering excitedly about the adventures she planned to embark upon wearing it. Left alone in the living room with the remnants of wrapping paper and cake crumbs scattered like memories, my stomach knotted. Tonight, in a past life, we would have been snuggled together, reviewing the day, talking about fairies and dreams, leaving no space for shadows. Instead, I turned my thoughts to the locket, its metallic surface reflecting the kitchen light. I knew I couldn't ignore its call any longer. Pulling it from my pocket, I examined it closer. Small engravings decorated its surface, intricate swirls that seemed to dance in the light. With trembling fingers, I unhooked the clasp, holding my breath as I revealed its contents. Inside, a photograph of a woman, strikingly familiar, her smile hauntingly echoing the angel's ethereal presence. Beneath it, inscribed in fine script, were the words, "For the moments that tie us, remember." My breath caught in my throat as realization hit me like a wave. This was no ordinary trinket. I had seen her before, once in dreams, in fragments of time, reflections of my own heart woven with threads of despair and inexplicable connection. Just then, a loud knock erupted from the front door, startling me, pushing me out of my reverie. Heart racing, I pressed the locket back into my pocket, my heart thudding louder than ever. Who could it be at this hour? I Approached the door cautiously, the locket's weight a reminder of the magic and darkness intertwining in my world. "Who is it?" I called through the barrier, gripping the doorknob tightly. "It's me, Tom," came my neighbor's voice, punctuated by urgency. "Can I come in? I really need to talk to you." I hesitated, feeling the swell of worry in my stomach. How much could I take in one night? But my intuition told me this could be critical, and as a mother, ever attuned to the worries around, I needed to be there for my neighbor. "Yeah, come in," I replied, opening the door to find him pale and disheveled, a stark contrast against the warmth of the kitchen. "What's wrong?" "There's been something strange happening, things we can't explain," he began, looking over his shoulder as if the shadows had come to life. About the angel and the locket. A chill enveloped the room, every heartbeat felt like fragile glass. As he stepped inside, the air grew heavier, charged with unsaid revelations. I clutched the locket inside my pocket, knowing that whatever followed next would alter not just my evening, but the spirals of fate surrounding us all. What did Tom know? What threads wove through our lives that hadn't yet revealed themselves? I realized then that tonight was no ordinary night. It was a threshold, an opening to deeper shadows, or perhaps glimmers of light waiting to peek through and chase away the encroaching night. The kitchen, once a sanctuary of joyful clinking plates and melodic laughter, now felt heavy with an undercurrent of dread. Tom stepped inside, his presence casting a long shadow that mingled with the remnants of celebration. The colorful beads of Jane's bracelet gleamed innocently on the table, laughing in stark contrast to the anxiety brewing in the room. "Tom," I urged, unable to hide the tremor in my voice. "What do you mean about the angel?" His brow furrowed, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the weight of responsibility etched on his face. A man burdened, not only with his own troubles but with the unseen threads of our intertwined destinies. "Have you felt it? The presence, I mean?" "It's been hovering around," he said, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. "I thought it was just me, but last night, I saw it. And it wasn't just any sighting. It felt like a warning." That I swallowed hard, the memory of the locket coiling around my thoughts like a snake, squeezing tighter with each revelation. "What did you see? Who is she?" I asked, wondering if this was how secrets unfurled slowly, dragging you further into the depths of fear and understanding alike. Tom hesitated, the color draining slightly from his cheeks as he took a moment to gather himself. "I saw what looked like a woman standing at the edge of my yard. She was radiant, almost glowing. But there was something about her, something that felt off. Like she was both inviting and repelling, and when I looked closer, it wasn't just beauty, it was despair woven into every line of her face." His words wrapped around my heart like vines, squeezing the breath from my lungs. The image of the woman in the locket swam back into my mind with vibrant clarity, the same haunting smile, the same palpable sadness lingering just beneath the surface. "What does it mean?" I pressed, my voice a whisper as I wrestled with the emotions surging within me. "Why now? Why us?" Tom shook his head, his expression reflecting my own sense of helpless confusion. "I don't know. But my mother, she used to tell stories of souls tethered to this world by unfinished business, of angels that were both guardians and messengers." His eyes flickered with worry as he took a step closer. "You need to be careful. Your daughter, she's too young to carry this weight." The thought of Jane, innocent yet so intertwined in the fabric of this unfolding mystery, struck like a dagger to my heart. "I'll protect her," I declared, though uncertainty swirled like a tempest inside me. But how could I shield her from the intangible? From a darkness I didn't quite understand? The certainty I sought seemed to slip like sand through my fingers, leaving me grasping at shadows. As if sensing the heaviness of our conversation, a chime echoed from the other room. I realized quickly it was Jane. "Mom!" she called out, her voice bright and carefree. The innocence in her tone momentarily quelled the storm inside me, reminiscent of fragile sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "Can you come see my bracelet? It glows in the dark. Just a second, sweetheart," I shouted, desperate to hold on to that small spark of hope her energy provided. Turning back to Tom, I felt urgency crackle in the air between us. "What else do you know? Is there anything we can do?" I asked, gripping the edge of the kitchen counter as if it were a lifeline. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could respond, a sudden blast of cold air swept through the room. The windows rattled as if the world outside had decided to poke its head in, and all its warmth vanished. Tom turned silent, his expression a mix of fear and awe, and we both knew something beyond ourselves was at play. The next heartbeat resonated like an echo in the stillness. A voice threaded with certainty shattered the air in the kitchen, cutting through the tension. "Remember for the moments that tie us." Remember. I froze, my heart hammering, the locket pulling at my pocket like a tether demanding attention. Jane flung open the door, her face glowing with excitement. "Look! It's glowing!" she exclaimed, holding her bracelet aloft, its colors shimmering with an otherworldly shimmer that momentarily illuminated the growing darkness around us. In that moment, the cold air thickened, wrapping around us both in a spectral embrace. My heart stuttered, realization dawning just as two shimmering figures dimly materialized at the edges of our vision, one of them unmistakably resembling the woman from my dreams, her gaze piercing and filled with longing. I clutched the locket, the weight of it suddenly unbearable, my breath hitching in my throat as I glanced at Tom, who echoed my shock in silence. The angel was real. The locket was real. And whatever had been set in motion was about to unravel, revealing the hidden threads of destiny binding all our souls together. But as Jane danced beneath the ethereal light of her bracelet, oblivious to the imminent storm, dread coursed through me, clashing against the shards of hope that dared to rise. What did this mean for her? For me? I couldn't shake the feeling that with every second, we were approaching a precipice where light and shadow would clash with irrevocable consequences. In that heavily charged space, I understood we may have crossed a threshold from which there could be no turning back, the whispers of fate pulling us deeper into the unknown. Something was going to change, and I could only hope that what lay ahead wouldn't tear us apart but instead bind us even closer. The answer lingering on the cusp of revelation, shadowed by uncertainty, threatened to engulf us as I braced for whatever came next. The chill in the air persisted, thickening around us even as Jane twirled beneath her glowing bracelet, laughter echoing through the room like a reminder of joy amidst our confusion. The radiant figures at the edges of our vision became clearer, their ethereal glow illuminating the previously shadowed corners of the kitchen, transforming the familiar space into something otherworldly. Tom and I stood motionless, a shared understanding passing between us. This was no mere trick of the light or a figment of our imagination. The woman's eyes held a profound sadness, a wellspring of memories and unspoken words, as if she had crossed the boundaries of existence to share something vital. Yet her presence contained an air of warning that sent tremors of fear coursing down my spine. I flicked a glance at Tom, seeking affirmation that he felt the same wave of terror that crashed over me. With every twirl of Jane's delighted laughter, the distant sadness in the angelic figure sharpened to a point of hurt. I fought against the involuntary urge to shield my daughter from that grief, wishing to preserve the sunlight that colored her world. Yet, perhaps that was a futile desire. The shadows were inching closer, intertwining with the light that fueled her delight. As I struggled to process what lay before my eyes, the distant angel spoke, her voice resonating with a haunting clarity. "Moments that tie us," she echoed softly, almost plaintively, "hold the power to bind hearts, even when the world stands still." My heart raced, the gravity of her words embedding themselves into my mind. What moments did she mean? Was she referring to the intangible threads of love and memory? Or were they ties framed by chaos and heartbreak that would soon unravel? Jane, blissfully unaware, suddenly reached for my hand. "Mom, look! They're dancing with me." Her innocent joy refracted across the space, the glow from her bracelet casting a halo around her that momentarily dispelled my unease. But the shadowy figures held still, watching her every move, projecting that same sorrow, whispering secrets I yearned to understand. "Stay close, Jane," I called, urgency lacing my words, and she obliged, still giggling, relishing our shared connection even as an unseen storm churned on the horizon. But as the angel's eyes locked with mine, I felt time stretch and twist, me heartbeat quickening, a shadowed echo of memories coming unbidden. I found myself enveloped in the warmth of familiarity, recalling the last birthday party I had organized for Jane, balloons fluttering against a backdrop of laughter. Then, like a brittle thread snapping, the revelry shattered as memories of loss flooded back. I had lost so much: friends, peace of mind, and a sense of belonging in a world that echoed loneliness in every corner. "Mom?" Jane's voice pulled me back, her concern cutting through my reverie as she guided me back to her. Suddenly, I heard Tom shift, his quiet resolve filled with quiet strength as he stepped forward, the angel's gaze unwaveringly fixed upon him. "Haven't you seen her before?" Tom asked, his voice coated in awe and fear as we all turned our focus to the figure who had captured our attention. "My mother, she used to tell stories about angels that came to warn us of our choices. They weren't just guardians, they reflected what we'd lost, a reminder of our past and the fractures within ourselves." Just as he spoke, a crackle of energy flickered through the room. The once luminous figures shifted, twisting and bending, the joyful aura turning darker. A low rumble coursed through the kitchen, shaking the frames on the wall as if the very foundation of our lives trembled beneath the weight of unseen forces. Tom gasped, clutching my arm as we exchanged glances, the sense that something far more sinister had become entwined in this moment sinking in. Jane reached out to follow the fabricating silhouettes, her little fingers brushing against something profound beneath the surface. The radiance around her flickered, resonating with vulnerability, and I suddenly felt a harsh, cold breath whisper past us, sending chills spiraling down my spine. "Remember," the angel called, her voice now layered with an urgency that felt like a plea, "for the moments that tie us, beware the moments that may bind us." Chaos spiraled into focus, revealing a fragility that hung in the air, a truth I could only sense but dared not voice. I felt the weight of the locket in my pocket, its presence thrummed, like a heartbeat harmonizing with Jane's joy, yet a discrepancy lingered, fueling unease. "Tom, what does this mean?" I asked, real fear driving my voice as reality shifted, fracturing beneath our feet. The very air thickened, rich with dread, daring us to embrace the approaching storm or remain stagnant, never knowing what paths unfolded should we decide to follow. Before Tom could answer, a loud crash erupted outside, silencing every bit of laughter or light. Staggering back, dread and instinct pulled at me, but Jane remained oblivious, a beacon of shining delight lost in a world of shadows. I flinched, the sensation unmistakable. Something had changed irrevocably. As I turned back to the angel, the clarity of her visage softened, darkening around the edges with caution, a resolver of tensions caught between the seen and the unseen. I grasped Jane tighter, dread spiraling in the pit of my stomach. "What's coming?" I whispered, the ghostly figures curling around us in ways I couldn't decode, and then it struck like a thunderclap, the startling realization that screamed louder than the storm brewing outside. The warning I felt around us was but a precursor, a harbinger that our choices might force the boundaries of fate to unfurl, crafting threads that may not only bind us together in love but utterly unravel beneath our feet, threatening to sever what was most vital. With every heartbeat coupled with the shifting shadows, it became evident while we're on the precipice of discovery, where loss, love, and hope would collide, and I couldn't help but wonder, would we emerge from this storm together, or would we fracture, lost to the shadows of what had been? As the echoes of the crash faded into an unsettling stillness, our small kitchen felt engulfed in a chilling embrace. I held Jane tightly, her soft laughter now a distant memory beneath the weight of uncertainty that crashed over us like a wave. The angelic figure watched with an intensity that suggested knowledge beyond our comprehension, and I felt a stranglehold of fear clutching my chest. Tom stood a bit farther away, the shock visibly etched across his features. "Maybe we should," he began, but the words caught in his throat as the air thickened, crackling with unseen energy. My mind raced, fighting against the instinct to flee. I knew we had to face whatever lay ahead, no matter how daunting it felt. "Mom, are the angels mad?" Jane asked, her innocence piercing through the oppressive atmosphere. I forced a smile that felt more like a grimace and knelt to her level, brushing strands of hair from her face. "They're just trying to help us understand something important, sweetheart." The warmth of her small hand wrapped around my fingers offered a flicker of comfort in the storm of emotions swirling inside me. But as I looked back at Tom, the uncertainty in his eyes melted any remnants of solace I held. His haunted expression mirrored the same questions that danced in the back of my mind. What were we meant to learn from this unfolding chaos? And more disturbingly, what dark truths lay waiting for us? Suddenly, the angel's gaze turned toward the door, her luminescence flickering violently. "The choice approaches," she intoned, a depth to her voice that sent shivers through my spine. "Moments of decision, constraints that feel inevitable, they arise from the hidden hurt, the unresolved past." "What does that mean?" I implored, desperation lacing my tone as I searched her face for clarity. But before she could respond, the door burst open with a force that made the walls tremble, and an icy gust swept through the kitchen. There stood a figure cloaked in darkness, an embodiment of sorrow and loss. The shadows wove around him like living tendrils, refusing to release their hold. My heart raced. Was this a manifestation of the grief that clung to us, or was it something worse? Unfathomable sadness radiated outward, ringing a bell of painful recognition deep within me. Who are you? Tom demanded, stepping protectively in front of Jane. The figure remained silent, his presence alone suffocating the joy that had once illuminated our home. I stepped closer, drawn by a memory I struggled to grasp. Please, speak to us. We're looking for answers. I called, my voice trembling as I fought the welter of emotions struggling to surface. A low, resonant whisper emerged from the figure, merging with the cold air. You tread the line between past and future, aware of the choices that haunt you. But some truths aren't meant to be faced alone. Why are you here? I managed, each word weighing heavily upon my heart. The figure slowly raised a hand, pointing towards the angel, whose calm expression betrayed a deeper tension. This one has seen your pain, your losses, and the paths you've treaded upon. But beware, in facing your past, you may uncover truths that would change every moment ahead. Healing or destruction, which will you choose? An aching silence blanketed the room as I absorbed his words. The gravity of his warning filled the air, intertwining with the shadows as we awaited the storm's inevitable approach. My mind raced with visions of what lay hidden within the fractures of our lives, the broken relationships, the choices we'd made, the scars we carried. The delicate balance between moving forward and being consumed by the weight of our histories pressed upon my chest like a vice. Mom, I'm scared, Jane muttered, her voice small against the surge of uncertainty. A rush of protectiveness surged within me as I knelt down to her level once more, cupping her face with my hands. You're safe with us, sweetheart. No matter what happens, we'll face it together. Tom stepped closer, his eyes darting from me to the forlorn figure in the doorway. But can we really? If we confront our past, what if it changes everything? What if we lose everything? The question lingered painfully in the air, the specter looming larger than life, casting its dark presence over us. I tried to focus on the angel in the kitchen, the warmth of her light warring against the chill radiating from the figure before us. Isn't it better to confront what haunts us? To find some kind of resolution? The angel hesitated, her gaze weighing heavy upon me, and I felt the gravity of my words, a wild gamble that turned the destinies of us all. But before an answer could fall upon our ears, the shadows coiled tighter, the chilly air pressing in around us, making it harder to breathe. As a deafening silence enveloped the room, the figure began to dissolve into shadow, his last words curling around us like wisps of fog. The choice arises, the burden you claim can bind you or set you free. Then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he vanished into the shadows, leaving only uncertainty in his wake. My breath hitched in my chest, and the angel turned toward me, the sorrow in her eyes morphing into something akin to pleading. Choose wisely, she whispered, the flickering light around her dimming ever so slightly as if reflecting our collective fears. I looked at Tom, whose expression mirrored my own turmoil. The weight of what lay ahead pressed down upon us, and I could feel Jane's small body quaking beneath my hands. Would we face the truths we so desperately tried to avoid, or would we remain enshrouded in darkness, afraid to unravel the very threads that held us together? As I clutched Jane tighter, the room pulsed around me, the shadows beckoning us with their dark temptations. The boundaries of our reality shifted. Was it possible that the journey ahead could help us understand not just what had been lost, but also what we stood to gain? But just as clarity flickered at the edges of my thoughts, a loud crash reverberated outside once more, this time louder, accompanied by anguished cries, an unearthly howl piercing the stillness we clung to, leaving us teetering on the brink of a choice that threatened to shatter everything we knew. And in that harrowing moment of uncertainty, I knew, one way or another, the stomach-dropping truth awaited us beyond the threshold, a revelation that could forever alter the fabric of our existence. As the echoes of the anguished howls outside reached our ears, my heart raced with an urgency I had never known. The tears that Jane had held back in our kitchen finally spilled over, rolling down her cheeks, streaking her face in the dim light. My own eyes mirrored her fear. Terror was invading our sanctuary like a thief in the night. Mom, what's happening? She cried, her voice trembling under the weight of impending dread. Tom's protective stance faltered, his feigned strength crumbling beneath the sheer force of fear that gripped us. Before I could muster the courage to answer, the shadows surrounding the angel shifted and swirled, morphing into a spectral dance. The angel's glow flickered, dimming with the encroaching chaos. You may not have the luxury of delaying the choice before you. Every heartbeat echoes a decision. Will you find light amidst the shadows, or succumb to despair? As my despair heralded the arrival of cold reality, I felt something deep within me stir a refusal to let fear dictate our fate. I looked at Jane, her small frame trembling, and my resolve solidified like iron. We have to be brave, sweetie. We cannot let fear win, I whispered, though the conviction in my voice felt fragile against the raging storm outside. Tom reached out, his hand clasping my shoulder. We can't face this alone, we need to find out who is out there, he urged, a flicker of determination igniting behind his haunted eyes. I nodded, grateful for the strength of his presence. Even as the uncertainties loomed larger than life, a low rumbling began, shaking the very air we breathed, and for a fleeting moment, the door vibrated from the force outside, rattling against the hinges. The angel's eyes held mine, a profound awareness echoing through her gaze. Sometimes it takes darkness to reveal the light. What you uncover may show you who you truly are, but before I could inquire further, the howl erupted again, louder and more feral, sending a ripple of panic through Jane. Stay here, I commanded Tom, the weight of my words holding both urgency and fear. I couldn't let anything happen to her, not now, not ever. Tom hesitated, his expression torn. No, we need to stick together, he argued, his voice steadying amidst the chaos. Together means facing whatever that is head on, and I'll be damned if I let my daughter see any of it, I shot back, the protective mother in me flaring to life. In an unexpected moment, an idea flickered to life in my mind. If we could open the door and look, just for a moment, maybe we could understand. I reached for the handle, adrenaline coursing through me as I considered what could be out there: help, danger, or something else entirely. But before I could twist it, the air crackled again, sending an electric surge through the room. The angel stood abruptly, as if she sensed something beyond our comprehension. The choice is at the threshold, and the darkness bears judgment. You must decide, and soon, she warned, her voice filled with an urgency I could not bear to ignore. Taking a deep breath, I turned back to Jane. No matter what happens, remember that we're a team. Whatever they throw at us, we will face it together, I reassured her, squeezing her hand once more, as if hoping to transfer my courage into her small form. It felt like an eternity before I turned the knob and pushed the door open, the hinges creaking in protest. The sight that met us was surreal, almost dreamlike. Past the threshold lay devastation. A twisted wreckage of our neighborhood erupted into view, broken branches littered the ground, remnants of our world tossed about like leaves in a storm. Yet amidst the chaos, there were figures, people stumbling through the wreckage, expressions of panic and confusion etched on their faces. I spotted Mrs. Caldwell from down the street, her frail frame silhouetted against the backdrop of destruction, straining to lift a fallen limb away from her porch. Another neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, yelled for help, but there was something in his voice that made my stomach drop, a pleading that indicated more than just physical struggle. Mom. They need us. Jane's voice broke through my trance, filled with a mix of fear and resolve. But just as I was about to step forward, a horrific scream cut through the air, primal and deep, echoing desperation that sent a chill through my bones. From the shadows surged a creature, disfigured and fearsome, wreathed in the same darkness that had gripped the doorway. Its eyes glowed amber, casting an otherworldly light into the chaos surrounding it. Stay back! I shouted, pushing Jane behind me, my instincts flaring as I prepared to defend her. I glanced at Tom, whose eyes widened in horror, but before I could comprehend the situation fully, the creature lunged toward us. Run! Tom yelled, tugging at Jane and turning back towards the kitchen door. Time stalled, the world narrowing as I chose to step forward rather than retreat. An instinctive pull toward the anguish I saw around me. But in that split second, the angel's voice echoed in my mind, urging me to confront the pain rather than flee. This darkness, this fear, perhaps, just perhaps, there was strength to be found in standing my ground. Wait! I yelled, my voice cracking but resolute. We can't let fear control us, and just as the creature seemed poised to strike, a light blazed through the shadows, a radiant beam forcing back the darkness that threatened to swallow us whole. The angel stepped forward, the full extent of her luminous form now overwhelming, a guardian against the despair we faced. "Remember who you are," she commanded, her voice reverberating with electrifying force. What came next was both mesmerizing and terrifying. A rush of memories surged through me. Faces long forgotten, moments of joy mixed with sorrow, voices spiraling into the present. Each memory came alive, battling against the oppressive dark. As those echoes of my past reverberated through me, I felt the weight lift, as though the very souls of our connections echoed against the creature's wrath. But just as quickly as the light surged forward, the shadows twisted, the creature recoiling momentarily as if momentarily weakened. In that fragile moment, I knew the choices we made would define us. Could we resolve to embrace our past and face the future together? Then the light flickered, faltering against mounting shadows, and the creature's howl rang out once more, filled with fury. Just then, I felt a pull from Tom, his hand grasping mine firmly. "Together," he murmured, the weight of his connection feeling like a lifeline amidst the chaos. In that moment, I knew we could either confront this darkness together or risk losing everything we had ever built, and at that terrifying juncture, we stood poised at the edge of a choice that would either bind us together in strength or unravel our futures in despair. Little did I know, the choices we made in that fleeting instant would echo long past the crash of anguish that lay waiting in the darkness. As the shadows swallowed the light, a harrowing truth dawned upon me, a revelation that could change everything. Perhaps some choices are not merely decisions, but destinies waiting to unfold. The air was thick with uncertainty, a palpable tension that seemed to cling to us like a heavy fog. The creature, emboldened by the shadows, shifted its monstrous form into a more threatening stance, the glow from the angel illuminating the shards of fear etched across our faces. I could feel Jane trembling behind me, her innocent trust in me was now a heavy anchor, tugging me deeper into a sea of dread. "Stay together," I breathed to Tom, tightening my grip on his hand. The warmth of his skin grounded me, a reminder that light, even in its faintest form, could still exist. Whatever that is, we face it together, with the angel's presence standing between us and the creature. I could sense the flickering light struggling against the darkness. It needed our faith to sustain it. "Can't you help them?" I whispered to the angel, desperation slipping through the cracks of my resolve. "There are more people out there. They need you." She turned her gaze towards the chaos beyond, and for an instant, I thought I saw a flicker of understanding in her luminous eyes. "Each individual holds a spark of light, but it is your choices that fan the flames. Will you ignite hope or foster despair?" Her words lingered in the air, heavy with implications. The creature slashed its claws toward the light, a terrifying snarl erupting from its throat, shaking the very roots of the ground below. I couldn't allow it to advance. It would claim not just our evening but our lives, tearing the fragile fabric of this moment apart. "Jane," I spoke gradually, trying to keep my voice steady. "When I say go, we run. Tom, take her hand and do not look back. No matter what happens, I love you both," I added, forcing the words through the thick knot of fear in my throat. Before I could gauge his response, the creature lunged, a beastly roar split the air, surging toward us with blinding speed. The angel's support shone fiercely at that moment, creating an ethereal barrier that momentarily slowed the creature down. It screeched in frustration, belching out roiling tendrils of shadow in sharp contrast to the angel's light. "Now!" I yelled, heart racing. Tom pulled Jane closer, but as I turned to lead them back towards the sanctuary of our home, a terrible realization struck me, a fear deeper than any I had known. "That I may not be able to protect you," I murmured to myself as my heart shattered at the thought of losing them. The weight of that truth shadowed my determination, creating a chasm between my will to fight and my instinct to flee. As we darted through the doorway, dark tendrils lashed out, threatening to ensnare. A cry escaped my lips as one wrapping around my ankle pulled me back, yanking me toward the nightmare we had just fled. "No fear," I told myself, fighting against its suffocating grasp. The angel surged forward, a beacon of determination, dispelling the darkness which seemed to circulate dangerously close. "Look beyond the fright. Find what moves you." The angel implored. That I glimpsed the faces of our neighbors. Some emerged from their shelters, but others were still trapped within the confines of their fear. Mrs. Caldwell was now crouched on her porch, staring at the chaos with tears streaming down her cheeks. I caught Mr. Jenkins collapsing at the edge of a boundary I had never seen before. A wall of shadows. Help her. Jane called out, raw urgency coloring her voice. Mom, please. She's scared. The scream of our fear reminded me of all we were fighting for. It ruptured the cocoon of desperation threatening to envelop me. Tom, take Jane and go, I growled, shaking off the darkness gripping my leg as I prepared to charge into the storm of chaos. I will not leave anyone behind, Mom, no. Jane's pleading voice nearly shattered me, but deep down, in the core of my being, I understood what needed to be done. Go now. I urged, my voice like a battle cry. I promise I'll find you both. With one last glance, I turned toward the inferno of despair. Roots of darkness twisted violently, desperately trying to claim what they desired most. The angel shielded me with a barrier as I charged forward. This isn't just about fear, but as I moved closer to Mrs. Caldwell, the shadows pulsed violently, dark tendrils attempting to ensnare not just me, but the hope I sought to instill. Just when I thought my light was outshining their darkness, a sharp pain shot through my leg, and I fell to the ground, my courage faltering as the shadows closed. And, hold on to your truth, the angel cried out, but doubts began to seed in as I felt the darkness creeping ever closer. No, I thought desperately. I wouldn't let them win. In the dim glow of the angel, I reached for the memories that fought against the void. Laughter with Jane, the warmth of Tom's embrace, Mrs. Caldwell's gentle wisdom. Each memory flickered, a defiant flame against the dark. Just when I thought my strength was fleeting, I heard a voice cry out. It was familiar, yet hauntingly distant. Mom. Please come back. It was Jane's voice, fragile yet filled with power, breaking through the chaos of my mind just when everything seemed insurmountable. In that moment, a spark erupted within me, shining brighter than the encroaching shadows, igniting a strength I didn't know I possessed. I reached out my hand toward Mrs. Caldwell, her frail form illuminated by clinging hope. Together. I shouted, even as the shadows encircled me. As I grasped her hand, the darkness recoiled, unraveling for a split second, enough for us to pull free into the sanctity of light. But the glimpse of hope was abruptly shattered by the scream of something unseen. A roar echoed, shaking the very ground beneath us, shattering the calm once more as the darkness surged forward with renewed ferocity. Then, a twist of fate out of the shadows, a figure emerged, cloaked and towering, seeming to rise from the very depths we feared. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized the face, twisted and malformed by shadows, yet unmistakably familiar. Why did you abandon us? The figure bellowed, and my heart sank with cold dread. In that moment, reality crashed over me like icy waves. I realized that the shadows had brought not just chaos but someone I thought lost, a shrouded figure of my past, one I never expected to face again. I was left heartbroken at my daughter's birthday when $1 million angel appeared, but now, as secrets unraveled amidst the chaos, I recognized my own choices were tangled with their destinies, forming an intricate web we would need to navigate to find the light once more. The murmur of familiar voices wrapped around me like a shroud, causing my heart to thunder against my ribcage. I struggled to comprehend the truth that loomed before me. The twisted figure, barely recognizable beneath the shadows that clung to it like a second skin, held the echoes of love once cherished but now tainted by betrayal. Mom. Jane's voice broke through my fog of confusion, her small hands clutching Tom's tightly. I could see the terror flickering in her eyes, amplifying the pain in my chest. Who is that? What does it want? Get back. I yelled, urgency clawing at my throat. Mrs. Caldwell trembled beside me, her wizened fingers gripping mine like a lifeline. The creature before us was far more than an aggressor. It was a living wound from my past, one that had festered and grown in the dark. It wants to instill fear. Fear? The figure rasped, its voice a spine-chilling blend of fury and heartbreak. You knew fear well before this moment, didn't you? You abandoned me to survive. Who are you to save anyone? The truth of its words snaked through my thoughts like venom, reverberating in the hollow parts of my heart. Memories rushed back, moments of laughter, fleeting joy, and the ache of loss that felt as fresh as yesterday. A part of me wanted to retreat into the shadows, to escape the judgment that burned in those hauntingly familiar eyes, but Jane's whimper brought me back, steadying my resolve even as the creature swirled with darkness. Tell me it's not true. You never left us. I shouted, echoing my daughter's plea. You can't let it win, the figure laughed, a chilling sound that mingled despair and anger, and with a gesture, the shadows twisted around its limbs, creeping toward us like malevolent serpents. I was forged in that darkness. Your choices birthed me, and now I am your greatest fear made manifest. Face it, or lose them all. Tom stepped forward, an ember of defiance igniting in his eyes. Whatever you are, we're not afraid of you. We'll fight together. His voice was steady, an unwavering affirmation in the tempest of despair threatening to swallow us. Every ounce of me wanted to break down, to let the memories drag me back into that abyss, but the strength I found in Tom's presence fed the flickering flame of hope that remained. I knew I had to face this shadow, not just for myself, but for Jane, for all of us. Consider this a reckoning, the figure hissed, its tone dripping with malice. You think love can conquer despair? That you can rewrite your history? You will fail. That I end that moment, the shadows surged forward, coiling around us in a desperate attempt to snuff out hope. Darkness seeped into my very being, suffocating the thoughts I longed to express. Yet, as I felt the shadows creeping closer, something broke free within me, a surge of memories, moments that sang full of love. Together we shine light, I declared, squeezing Mrs. Caldwell's hand. We will let go of fear. My voice rippled through the darkness, igniting a chorus of defiance as it bounced off the walls of my mind. The shadows screeched and recoiled for a moment, a shimmer of light pushing them back. But I knew it wouldn't be enough. I turned to Jane, my heart aching as I knelt before her. You must trust that love is stronger than fear, sweetheart. Remember the nights we spent stargazing, the stories we told each other? We're woven together by something more than this darkness. The moment hung in the air, suspended between hope and despair, as Jane's wide eyes glistened with tears. Just when I thought the shadows would close in fully, she stepped forward, drawing strength from my conviction. We will show you how strong we are. She shouted, lifting her chin defiantly. That a tremor of uncertainty flickered through the shadowed figure, but the darkness thickened, determined to envelop our small moments of courage. Futility surrounds you, it snarled, undeterred, but I could feel the angels warm, the glow forming in the center of our hands, each memory coalescing into an orb of shimmering light that could protect us. We are not alone, I proclaimed, and in that instant, hope blended with resolve, causing the shadows to shiver. But then the creature lunged again, a tumultuous roar disrupting our connection, as the light began to falter. In a tragic twist, I felt the pull of desperation encircling my heart, thin yet palpable. Stay close, I cried, urging Tom and Jane back as I took one step closer to the figure made of shadows. Just as the light flickered, a sweeping surge of darkness enveloped me, obscuring everything in an all-encompassing void. And in that moment, I heard a whisper of longing wrapped in despair, echoing through the shadows. You could have saved me. But just as the darkness thickened, a wave of warmth surged from the angel, intensifying around my heart. Just as suddenly, something sharp pierced through the veil of obscurity, and I was momentarily thrown back into the light. The sounds of fading cries resonated in my ears. I opened my eyes to the tumultuous storm around me. Tom shook his head furiously, his eyes clouded with anguish. Where did you go? He rasped, his voice cracking under the weight of fear. You disappeared. Panic seized me. What do you mean? I felt the remnants of power fading like smoke, but what was worse was the gnawing realization that something had shifted, something had been lost. And in that ominous silence, Jane's hands trembled as she whispered, Mom, look. I turned as dread etched its way into my bones. The shadows, like a tide, began to retract, exposing a terrifying truth. There before us lay an empty space in the darkness, as if something precious had slipped from our grasp. Wait, I stuttered, grasping at the remnants of hope that began swirling down into grief as the past flashed before me. Where is the angel? Tom's face paled as he hinted at the shadows coiling around the figure I had once clasped hands with. If the angel is gone. The silence hung thick before the edges of reality crumbled beneath me once more. My breath caught as panic unfurled within, churning deep with dread. If the angel's light faded, what would the creature do next? As the realization sank in, a sense of despair washed over me. The ethereal glow that had once shielded us dimmed into nothingness, and the shadows surged forward with deadly intent. The figure that had taunted us before now surged with confidence, claws poised as if preparing to strike. My heart raced, pounding against my chest like a frantic drum. "Mom!" Jane cried, her small voice wavering as her grip on my hand tightened. I turned to her, forcing a smile even as fear gripped me. "Stay close, sweetheart," I whispered, my heart aching with the desperate need to protect her. The creature's gaze bore into us, the calm malevolence radiating almost like heat from a flame. "You could never escape your choices," it hissed, the voice echoing with the bitterness of a long-lost past. "You abandoned what you loved, and now you will pay the price. No," I shouted, my voice breaking, desperation coursing through every word. "You don't get to control us. We've faced fears before, and we won't let you twist our memories into shackles." My heart fought against the shadows, searching for that fractured light, the flicker of hope that just might guide us through. Tom shifted closer to Jane and me, determination etched on his face. "We're done running. We are stronger together. We don't have to face this alone." The shadows rippled with anger, but now a thread of collective hope began to weave between us, fighting back against the encroaching despair. "Feel the warmth of those you love," I urged, squeezing Jane's hand as if my very spirit could be infused into her small frame. "Remember the laughter, the kindness, the connection we share." Suddenly, in that moment of unity, a flicker arose from within Jane. It started as a small sparkle amidst the shadows but quickly grew brighter like a comet igniting the night sky. "You're wrong. We're a family, and we're not afraid of you," Jane yelled, her defiance breaking through the suffocating despair that clung to us. The creature recoiled at Jane's declaration, its form twisting, the shadows flickering like smoke. In that moment, I saw not just the child I was protecting, but the fierce spirit she had become, the embodiment of love that could stand against the darkness. That I could feel a surge of power ripple through us, a wave of radiant light ignited by the bond we shared. "Together," I declared, holding Tom's hand firmly, feeling Jane's small fingers entwined in mine as if to merge our hearts. "We will always choose love over fear." The luminous flame sparked with renewed vigor, illuminating the kitchen as if any remaining shadows dared not come near us. The figure writhed, shrieking with rage, clutching at the remnants of darkness swirling around it. "You think you can conquer me?" it screeched, the voice twisted into an anguished cry that resonated through our bones. "Yes," we shouted in unison, strength and courage coursing through us. "We know what it means to love, to hurt, and to heal." As our determination surged, the walls of despair shattered, sending a ripple of light cascading through the shadows. In that moment, I felt the presence of the angel Ogine, a gentle warmth wrapping around us like a protective shroud. "For every moment that ties us, there is a choice. Your love may not erase the past, but it can transform it," I heard the angel whisper, her voice now a soft echo carrying the strength of millions. The shadows blackened momentarily before the pure light bound together, coalescing into a radiant force. The creature's form began to disintegrate, unable to withstand the warmth we had conjured from the depths of our shared connection. "No. You cannot," but the light pulsed more vibrantly, illuminating the remnants of anguish trapped within that shadow. And as the creature writhed and twisted, the memories came rushing back, the laughter, the moments of joy intertwined with heartache, each piece of our past coming to the surface, not as a burden but as a point of healing. That if we cannot erase the darkness, then we will embrace it, I cried. For every loss, there has been a lesson, and every scar has left us stronger. As my words echoed, I felt the weight of my journey unfurling, swirling around us, merging into a beautiful tapestry of love. With a final ear-splitting scream, the creature collapsed into itself, shadows bursting like splinters of glass as the light enveloped us, swallowing every trace of despair until there was nothing left but warmth and serenity. The angel stood before us, her gentle, supporting presence now aglow, a testament to resilience. Tears streamed down my face as I turned to Tom, who breathed in shock beside me. There was no longer dread in the air, only an expansive silence filled with possibility. And then I looked down at Jane, and my heart surged. "Mom?" Jane asked, her eyes wide and shimmering. "Did we do it?" "Yes, my love, we did," I whispered, kneeling down before her. Tom and I reached out, our fingers brushing against hers, 3 hearts beating as one, fractured yet mended through understanding and love. The shadows had lifted. Though the memories would stay, we had faced our darkness together, and now we were sculpted anew, free to embrace the light that sprung from within. The kitchen shimmered, bright and full of warmth as the remnants of fear faded into the ether, leaving us standing proud and whole. With each heartbeat, I felt the profound acknowledgement of what held us together: the love, the warmth, the shared experiences that defined our lives. And as I held Jane tightly, my heart opened fully to the future unraveling before us, ready to embrace every moment that tied us together, no matter how chaotic. In that healing silence, I took a deep breath, feeling hope blossom anew. And in this solid truth, I recognized my own resilience. "We will always find our way back to the light," I whispered, and for the first time in a long time, my heart knew that this choice would lead us forward. Together, we echoed, each word reverberating with the promise that we would carry, hand in hand, toward a future filled with love and laughter. And as the final whispers of the shadows curled away, I realized that every moment, no matter how daunting, was a step on the path toward a new dawn, and our story could finally unfold anew, woven with bonds stronger than fear, because love, in all its forms, would always light our way through the dark.